tutorial is from Yvette in our group, and I asked her if it was okay if we used it, and I also asked her permission if it was okay if I kind of showed y'all. So first off, I just want to say an overwhelming thanks for all of you that are just sharing and just helping each other out. Again, I'm so grateful for this group, and y'all inspire me too. I mean, when I saw Yvette's snowman, I was like, oh my gosh, can I please use that for a party? Because again, you know, I'm out there teaching paint parties just like you, and when I saw this, I knew it was one of those that would be a winner for this year. So so what I'm doing is I'm going to kind of show you, because I know Yvette is really busy, as we all are, and she was nice enough to give us a line drawing. So if you look in the files, she has her snowman already drawn out. So this is on a 48-inch. I'm actually going to order mine from Craft Creations, but for the moment, I just got my husband to build some of these. So he just built this with some wood. I'll let y'all know which kind of wood he used. I wish, I'm not going to tell him this, but he put the stamps on the front. Yeah. Rookie move, Bobby. So anyway, so I'm gonna have to be painting over stamps. So don't have your stamps like that. Okay, so here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna move my snowman, and her line drawings, I literally just right-clicked and printed, because she has them set up for this exact thing, okay? So none of this is sanded, mine's really rough. And then what I'm going to do is just put carbon paper down. And if you're good at freehanding, just freehand it. It doesn't have to be perfect. I like to have a tracer, because I want, when my guests to get there, I want them to know that they're going to get a similar result as the one I advertised. I think that's really important, that we don't say we're going to help them get a result, but we can't really achieve it. That's why it's really important that you actually paint the item to bring, okay? Even if you're good at painting, it's still good to actually paint the item so that you can have a feel for when they're going to have a difficult area. Because all paintings have a spot that's maybe a little bit more challenging, and if we've already gone through that, then we can help them. We can anticipate that. Okay, this is just black carbon paper from Staples. You can order it online as well. And then all I'm going to do is I'm going to replace her line drawing just like a puzzle. So this is just an easy way, especially those of you that are new to painting and you're like, oh my gosh, you're dealing with so much imposter syndrome. Guys, we are not being hired to teach fine art. Okay, sorry, my lighting's a little weird, so if I look like I'm glowing, it's not a radioactive thing happening. But guys, you have got to get that out of your head. We are not here to teach fine art. We're here to have fun designs like this snowman, but we're able to break it down for them so that they can have success. The more you put it in your head that you're supposed to be this insane fine artist, the harder it is going to be for you to have success doing this type of event, okay? I'm just saying that with lots of love. As a former 10 years, I was an art teacher. We're not teaching an art workshop. We're teaching a fun paint party event that happens to be something that people can hang out. This is like a door sign that they could, I think that's just one little thing, that they could put on their door. And again, this doesn't have to be exactly perfect. We're going to paint over it. Y'all know I'm concentrating when I stop talking because it takes a lot to get me to stop talking, doesn't it? I just want to make sure I'm getting my lines right and that they're coming through. So I'm checking, yep, perfect. So the paper is working like a charm. So again, all I did was I went to the units in Paint Party Headquarters. Yvette so graciously designed this awesome thing. She's charging $65. When you advertise this, you do want to say, you know, it's a 48 inch. I'm going to have to do limited seating because obviously you can't use easels for this. And as you can see, it takes 2 to maybe 3 painter spots. So when you're taking that many painter spots because you can't do easels with it, you want to make sure that you have a limiter, because nothing's worse than showing up at the party and not having space for everybody. So you'll have a limiter. You might say, hey, this design is only 10 people. It's $65, the first 10 people that sign up. And then let them know, you know, this is a porch sign that's 48 inches tall. And I really, guys, when I saw this, I just knew it was going to be something that would really be popular. And I know Yvette's already sold out a few different events with it. And it's her design, so I want to make sure I give credit to her. I also asked her to make sure that it was an original. As you share designs in Paint Party Headquarters, we want to be really ethical about doing originals or Frankensteining something to be, you know, something that we could use. This one's going to be a little hard because it's right on that crease. I might have to make the candle like a little bit thinner. So we always want to make sure we're being ethical with that type of work. Just as you grow your business, you just always want to make sure, because things online stay online. As much as we want to know, you know, say, oh, we can delete it, you know, if we get bigger, you just never know where God will lead you. We've had several of you that have been on the news talking about your business. Sarah has gotten tons of grants, a huge grant this past year to go towards her business. So there's just so many opportunities that sometimes we don't even know is around the corner. And then, you know, we could be like, oh my gosh, I don't have any paint parties booked. And then the next thing you know, because you've been posting and you've been sharing all of those things, the next thing you know, it's like, oh my gosh, you know, this person wants a party of 40, or this person is asking if I can do a Christmas party. I mean, we just had someone post, you know, I have 60 people. Somebody posted, you know, they want me to do I think it was 150. So those kind of messages come through. And it happens, and it's crazy, but it's almost like you got to be preparing yourself for that moment, you know? If all we do is just kind of sit around and not paint or not practice, and we just kind of like sit as, oh, everybody else is getting the opportunities, but I'm not. We can get in a bad headspace. And you have got to remember, y'all, it's having your own business, paint party business or otherwise. It is about, I always say it's like 90% marketing, and I would say again, with having the right mindset, the right attitude. You know, I've seen people post in our group as well, you know, from, you know, just frustrated, and I know you're frustrated. I know some of you are really struggling, but then you have to go, okay, so what could I do different? How could I problem solve this? Another thing I noticed in the group, and I wanted to address, some of y'all, like, you know, are making your own paintings, which Yvette definitely, you know, keep doing what you're doing, girl. It's working. You know, some of y'all are making your own paintings, and that's great, but some of y'all that are new, you know, you're wanting to experiment, and you're wanting to start creating your own paintings, but maybe skill level you're still learning, and that's totally fine. But if you're ready to make some money during this season, this holiday season, which is, you know, paint parties are good pretty much all year, except for, I always say January and August are my struggle months. But pretty much the rest of the year, it's awesome. But this time of year is like Christmas magic sprinkled onto our paint parties. And this time of year, if we just offer the on-trend stuff, so like Yvette is giving you rights to this, right? She's also giving you a tracer, just like what I'm using right now. You know, it's working. It's selling out. People love snowmen. So why would we go, okay, let me try to create something else whenever you're in Paint Party headquarters for a reason. You're in this group for a reason so that you can make it faster. I'm not saying don't ever try to create your own art. Please don't hear me on that, because I love creating my own art. But during this time of year, all I want to do is offer what is popular. All I want to do is offer what I know is going to pay for my family's Christmas. All I want to do is offer what I know that's going to, have me, having paint parties coming out my ears, because, now is the season. And then again, like I told y'all, January, I hibernate. I have some really awesome things in store for you for January. We're going to I have a couple of surprises for you, but I don't want to give them away. But what I'm saying though is you have to be ready. So if you do have, I went ahead and printed out. Let me find it. I printed out her painting too, so I could kind of have a reference. And I'm glad I did, because right here I'm missing part of his head. There it is. But yeah, so in January is kind of a time for us to kind of all regroup and get ready for that spring season. Some of y'all, last year was a big challenge for myself. I was like, I am scheduling January parties. It's going to happen. And I did something kind of creative, which y'all could totally do if you want, at one of my regular paint parties. Okay? Oh, and here's what she said too. She said she took this DuraClear Satin Varnish by DecoArt, and she just painted on top of the snowman. So the snowman stays the color of the palette, and then we're going to use some burnt umber to kind of shade into it. I'm so frustrated that I love Bobby with all my heart. Bobby, if you hear this, I love you. But he did the stamps on this side, so I'm kind of frustrated about that. Let me see. I might have to go in with a little paint because of mine. Let me see. Let me get my burnt umber and mix it. So here's what I did last October at the venue, the restaurant that I go to every month during the season. I told them, I said, hey, watch your email. We have several things coming. November, December, January. Wait, it was October. So it was in October, so I did it November, December, January. And I said, I have a bunch of stuff coming. And I said, if you want to come to all 3 of those events, I only have a few passes. I think I limited it to 20 passes. And I said, if you want to come to those events, you can get a special deal only for, I gave them 5 days that they could sign up for it. And it's going to be $97 for 3 months. So what that did was it ensured, and I think I had 18 people that, oh, that's dark chocolate. Hold on. I think I had 18 people that said yes to that. So what that did was that gave me almost $1,800 right off the bat. And so what I did was I took that $1,800 and I pretended like I did not get paid until I did the next party. So for example, there it is. Sorry guys. So for example, $1,800. So that's a great thing, and that's before I sell any other tickets. They didn't even know what they were going to paint. Now that you're in Paint Party headquarters, you could easily tell them what they're going to paint, right? Because you're in Paint Party headquarters, so you have access to all kinds of the vintage Santa, all of these kinds of things, right? So, but you might want to be careful if you do that deal. Don't offer the ceramics. Maybe have an upsell for the ceramics. So what I did was I said, okay, at the paint party, I said, I'm so excited. I have something really cool to offer you tomorrow, so watch your email. It's going to be limited. It's only being offered to y'all right now, and y'all will have first dibs. Then, I need to find buttermilk. Then after, I was really excited at the party talking about it, and I said, make sure I have your email. People were like coming back in, making sure they were giving me their email. Because I didn't tell them what was coming the next day. I just said there's something really exciting coming. Then the next day, because I promised that I'm going to deliver, I sent an email that said, okay, here's the deal. If you want to paint with me the next 3 months, you can paint with me for just $97 for all 3 months. The tickets are non-refundable. You can't sell it for a higher price. I made some little joke. But the tickets are non-refundable, and if you want in, this is going to be only available until Friday. You have to make a decision, because then I'm going to open it up to the rest of my emails, because I have a bunch of emails from my local parties. And so then I said, month 1, November, we're going to do, 4 options for Christmas, or maybe you could just do 2 options. For December, we're going to be painting gifts, and I had something, I was like, things that you could give away. And then January, we're going to do a painted prayer. And so I said, go ahead and buy your ticket if you want to buy one as a gift for somebody. Now's a great time to do that as well. We have limited tickets at this price. And so within 5 days, I had sold 18 of them. So $1,800. And then what I did was, so instead of my January being totally like, oh my gosh, I don't have any, painters. What am I going to do? I spent all my money on Christmas presents. Instead of all of that nonsense, I put a portion of that aside, and then I knew I had money for January coming in for my paint party business. So I got all of it at once, because they had to pay in advance. I just made a PayPal link that went straight to, which now I would do a constant contact link, but it went straight to the $97 offer. And then I just had those ladies on a list as VIP customers. I called it a VIP customer event. And then it was so cool to know, first off, I already have, 18 people come in the next 3 months. So I knew all 3 months were going to be successful before I even started adding the regular price. So that may be a marketing strategy. If you already have a restaurant going, that may be something really good you want to do. Okay, so the only reason I'm not doing the clear right now, as Yvette said, is because my husband put these with the stamps on top. So I'm trying to cover that. Okay, so now I'm going to go to the clear. Oh, let me get this one right here. I'm just trying to cover. Again, I think as long as you make the snowman kind of white with some of the cream or the burnt umber, because I printed hers just so I could look at it. She just kind of added some burnt umber to the edge. So her wood, she did the clear first, and then after it dried, she went back. Okay, so I'm just going to try some of this. I'm just going to use a big brush. It's kind of like a Mod Podge almost, in a sense. And I also got some Mod Podge gloss for the truck and tree. So you can use triple thick, which is a DecoArt product, or you can just go straight to like a Mod Podge, and that's fine too. It might be cool too if you had a lighter stain, I was going to say don't do a dark stain. And then just watered down burnt umber. My water is pretty gross, so we're going to see. Actually, this is a sugared peach. Sugared peach on this one. But just use something that's kind of a creamy, not necessarily a white. I mean, you could. It's your little happy snowman. But if you want to do it this way, just a little creamy color. I'm just kind of going on top of my, since this is such a big piece, and we don't want our painters to be there for 18 hours, I'm using, you can get these at Michael's, it's just these cheap, I love these brushes for like fast stuff to get like backgrounds and things like that. So I'm just kind of adding a little bit of the burnt umber. I'm going kind of right on top of my buttons. And then I'll just draw them back on. Okay, and then this part's going to be a little bit trickier. Woo! Excuse me, sorry. Oh my goodness. So I'm just kind of going over. I still want to be able to see. You know, you might draw this in Sharpie for your people. Excuse me. Sorry, y'all. I got the sneezes. So I'm just kind of dabbing this, getting a little bit of that burnt umber. And if I get too much, I can kind of water it down or put a little bit more sugared peach on it or whatever color you want to use. Okay? Hopefully this will cover up my stamps. I think it will. It's crazy when you just get a little bit of water on your brush and you just kind of put on these little darker areas. It just starts to make things happen. And you barely have to touch. Okay, so we can add to that in a little bit. Okay, so now I'm going to do the, she had like a French gray blue, I believe it was called by DecoArt. They didn't have that at my local store, so I just got a French blue. This is a folk art one. Oh yay, it worked. A folk art, you can use any kind, so like I was going to use Winter Blue and Blue Harbor and mix those to kind of get this one right here, because this is the color I'm kind of going for. And again, you know, we're just taking it and kind of doing a wash over it. So we're going to put this with some water. Let me get another plate. And hopefully I can cover. So a little bit of paint with some water, making it really watery. And again, using this big brush is going to be key. Lots of water. You're doing kind of just a wash over it. So this wood really sucks the paint. So if it's getting too thick, I might add some more white. But actually I'm going to be doing a lot of snow too. And this is going to show my pencil lines if I do it kind of like not as thick. Again, this is where that Sharpie would really come in handy. So I recommend having these pre-traced, put on The Bachelor or Netflix, something you want to Netflix or a podcast, and then just have them pre-traced. So if you've sold 10 of these, and again, these are pre-sale only. I'm not going to sit in my house and get all these ready if nobody has paid yet, okay? So make sure it's pre-sold only, and make sure you have the space. So if you have a restaurant you usually have 20 people at, you know, maybe you can only fit 10 with these. That's okay though, because you're going to charge $65, at the minimum $55. I wouldn't go any lower than $55, but I'm gonna try it with $65, and then just kind of have them Sharpied. So after you do your tracing with your carbon paper, then I want you to Sharpie these on, because I'm finding out that I could have used a Sharpie right now because I'm brushing over, which is okay. I can go back on carbon paper if I don't want to freehand it. And then have them brush their edges. They're already there. It just takes a second longer. And then that way it looks totally finished when they're done. Yvette, I just want to say a big thank you again for sharing this, this design. I'm so excited about this one. Yeah, there's so many people out there that collect snowman. I always hear, like, you know, we have that great snowman that I'm doing parties with this year that is a guest, Terry Minton. Remember this snowman? And then I added the black stripes, so we have it to where you can do it on smaller wood, or you can do it on the 16 by 20. Then we also turned it into a door hanger. So sometimes people just want stuff to hang up for the season. You want to be able to give them the option, you know, if door hanger or whatever. Sometimes people do get a little like, you know, it's my art. I don't, you know, where I'm like, I want to put my art everywhere. You know, I love it. I just love like my happy style, and it just makes me happy seeing my artwork. But some people aren't like that, and if they're not, they just want something up for a season. Sometimes people need to feel like, you know, if they're going to go spend money on something, there's a reason. You know, instead of just the experience of having fun with, you know, a friend or whatever. So, you know, they might see the need of, hey, if I have that for a door hanger, you know, so you always want to have options of ways that they can use it. Okay, I'm going to try this. I don't know if it's going to work. Oh yeah, it's working good. So while it's wet, just brush off a little bit with the baby wipe. And you'll start to see the grain. Which I got to brush back on that part that shows the... Okay, all fixed, no big deal. Okay, so now let's go ahead with, I'm going to use a little bit of this blue with some black to get this hat on there. You could do solid black if you want. I'm going to do a mix of, let's see. I'm trying to find a brush that's working over here in my house. I think I found a bunch of brushes that are kind of ruined. I'm going to make kind of a black hat and then add some grayish hints to it. I can tell that this painting is going to need a lot of paint. So be ready for that. Again, not that just because it's a 48 inch, which by definition you just need a lot of paint because it's a bigger painting, right? But also because when it's a wood piece and it's not sanded or primed, it does take, you know, it sucks in the paint. So again, that's why you want to charge the right amount. So you're not like, oh my gosh, they're using all my paint. You won't care because you've charged the right amount. So even if, you know, if you've charged $65 and they use a whole thing of red, for example, you're not going to care because you charge $65. So even after your expenses, you're easily still making $45 a pop. So 45 times 10, it's $450 even after your expenses. And then when Christmas comes, let's say you have a bigger spot and you can fit 20 of these. Let me see if I can do this, so I can see a little better. And when you're doing wood too, another tip is if you have some water handy, the water is going to help move it a lot easier. Just be careful when you're getting close to a line because the water will start to seep. So I'm not even painting with new paint now, I'm just dipping it in the water and moving it around. Okay, I'm going to add a little bit of just some blues in here, just to take out a little bit of the harsh black. Okay, and then I'm going to add, oh, I think I put blue on my face. Just a little line of white up here. We'll add more to that in a little bit. Let's go ahead and dab off our brush, get back to that blackish blue. This is a black with a little bit of blue. I don't want them to be perfect circles. And then we're going to go in with the buttons. I'm going to need a little bit more water because this wood again is just sucking it up, and that water is going to help move it. So be careful putting your dabs of water too close to the edge, because it'll start to move around a little more than you want. Guys, I just want to take a minute to say, I hope y'all, whatever stage you're at, whether you are already teaching these paint parties or whether you are just now starting to learn about this, I just hope and pray that you have major success this season. Whether it's just getting started, getting your Facebook page set up, starting to learn a little bit more about this business. Or you start to really see an increase in your paint parties. Like right now, as I paint this, I have time lapses going. So I'm painting this, I'm recording this on my iPad for y'all, and then Brendan does her awesome editing. Shout out, Brendan. She does her awesome editing and makes it to where when I take my I have to go get the door, or I run to the restroom or whatever, she'll, edit that kind of stuff out, so you're not sitting there forever trying to watch me do something. And then also, then I'll time lapse. I have Pixie, since she can't use her phone at school anyway. I'll have her, leave her phone when I'm going to be filming. So if you have, one of your kids' phones, or an old phone if you're upgrading, don't sell it for the $50 or whatever. Keep it and use it to get time lapses. And then sorry about that. And then also keep it to get time lapses, and then that's what you could be posting to your page as you're practicing your paintings. You could say, hey, this is what we're going to do on so and so date. Make sure that you sign up, right? So this is a good way to advertise your paint parties, showing it through a time lapse, because you got to paint it anyway, right? So you might as well time lapse it while you're painting it. And those of you that are trying to grow your online presence, where you want to get more people to see your page, and time lapses are really, really big right now. I always say, when you find something on Facebook that's working, you use it, because you never know when they're going to change the algorithms, which they love to keep us on our toes. You just never know when they're going to change the algorithms, and then something that was getting a ton of notice may get changed, and then now it's not getting as much notice. So you always want to just make sure, like right now I'm telling you that time lapses are working. Well, don't come to me in 2 years and be like, I finally started doing time lapses, but I don't know why. They're just not doing what you were saying they're doing. Well, I said that 2 years ago. Something else is probably happening right now that's really good. So, always, whenever, again, that's why I live, breathe, sleep marketing for y'all, is because I know that things change, things are moving, all the time, and I want you to be ready for those things. Okay, so just so you know, I used a jack-o'-lantern orange and a bright orange. Jack-o'-lantern orange and a bright orange. And then I'm just gonna paint this little carrot nose. And I'm using a 6-round brush. This is a Dura handle from Jerry's Art-A-Rama. Jerry's Art-A-Rama. The brushes are, you can find some on sale. So sometimes they're not too bad. Sometimes they're kind of a little bit higher. But if you're trying to buy in bulk and you just want to get it purchased and you don't mind paying a little bit more, you can get a ton of these all at once. And then I also love, they're kind of expensive too, but Creative Mark by Jerry's Art-A-Rama. This is a fine tip liner, size 2. And this is what I use a lot for, you know, I have the Walmart liner brushes that I use that you can buy for $4.97 for 10. So if I have big parties, that's usually what's coming out. But, you know, a lot of times the bulk of our money is made, you know, in 10-person parties, private parties and 20-person party, whatever. So if I have like that 10-person party, then I'll, you know, if I have 10 of those, I'll use those for the customers. Okay, so I'm just going to use a very small hint of that burnt umber and just kind of putting a line right under it. So just a little bit of a line on the bottom of this. I didn't even wash my brush. I'm going to go to that liner brush. And when you're painting while things are wet, sometimes you have to go right on top. And then I'm just going to add in some lines to rough up the carrot. And then it looks like Yvette put some snow on top of his cute little nose. So we'll take some pure white and just add it on top of this nose. If your white starts to get dirty, make sure you're getting a clean brush and re-adding. Okay, I'm going to add some more snow to the top of the hat since that black has dried a little bit. A little bit to the brim. Kind of where the snow will naturally gather. Okay. All right, and then we have a red scarf. I'm going to use Tuscan red, which is some shades of black. And I'm going to actually put maybe just a hint of that blue to tone it down. I don't want it to be purple, but just a hint to tone it down a little. Again, use that water technique carefully. When you're on wood, it follows the grains and will go everywhere if you're not careful. And remember, you only need a few really great designs to have a very successful fall and Christmas season. So many times we're trying to reinvent the wheel and make a zillion designs when really you just need a few. You know, that one that the pumpkin palette that Christy and I did as a combo. Some of y'all that were already in the group, that was like an add-on. You had to purchase separate just because Christy was giving rights to her design. We do have that available. So if you're doing pumpkin palette parties and you see this tutorial and it's still, you know, fall time, or maybe you want it for next year, you can have the rights to that design. I'll include the link here, but the reason it's an extra charge is because it's the reason it's an extra charge is because it's not my design. So usually my guest, actually this was something totally separate we did, and that we offered if people wanted to. It was kind of like a challenge, and that we offered back in August. The reason why it is totally worth that price is you've probably seen, you know, myself included, posting. You know, I've already done 2 parties with it, and I'm about to do a 3rd party with it. And so just off of those 2 parties, and the price is $37 for her design, but just off those 2 parties, I brought 16 painters at $45 the last party, and then the party after that was there was 12 and 2 chose the thing, so 10 painters at $45. So yeah, so basically 26 painters at $45 if somebody could do the math. Definitely worth the $37 to have that design. So sometimes, you know, we're like, oh my gosh, I don't know, but if you don't even have to think about it, and, you know, it's something that's just you know, easy, like, you know, you're gonna, I mean, I've seen so many of y'all that took that challenge that are doing that party, and it makes me so happy because I know it takes a couple designs. If you don't want to use that one, or you didn't purchase for that one, that's totally fine. I totally recommend using, we have the crow one. We have the other one that's really popular is sunflower, the Simply Blessed sunflower. Guys, that one is still selling. I'm telling you, I have been selling that painting for, has it been 3 years now, maybe? 2.5, 3 years. It's just the painting that just keeps on giving. It just keeps on giving. So I added a little bluish to the eyes, and I'm just doing the back of my brush, 2 little dots. Now we have eyes. That's literally it for the eyes. Okay, so I'm going to use the same brush and add a little bit more detail to this scarf. Okay, so let me make sure y'all can see everything. Oh, I almost broke the truck and tree I'm about to paint. That would not have been good. Not good at all. Okay, so now on the scarf, we're going to take little bits of black and some of the red. So I got this messy palette here, a little bit of black, a little bit of red, and then maybe a dip of water, so it's a little bit more watery. And I'm just going to kind of go on the edge of this. So you don't have to shade it. If this part makes you nervous, you do not have to shade it. But I just like to kind of separate it. And then a little bit below. When you have that water in there, it's kind of a little watery section here. Then I can just easily get it on there. And it just gives it some shade. A little bit down the side. And use your pinky for balance. I use my pinky all the time. When I drink too much caffeine, because I love my coffee, I try not to drink a lot of Coke, but when I do, it's weird. Diet Coke gives me massive headaches. I can't take Diet Coke, but regular Coke doesn't. I know that's very strange, but it doesn't give me my headaches. And so sometimes I'll drink a regular Coke, and I'll get real jittery. And so when I'm jittery like that, I have to always use my pinky. So then I'm going to rinse this brush because I do not want pink. And this is a Christmas painting. I don't want pink. And so I'm going to go into the cream and a little bit of the white. And this is where I can kind of just, I'm going to get a little bit of water with that. Cream and a little bit of white. And just kind of highlight it a little bit. And I'm going to highlight a little bit in here too. Oh, it's starting to turn. Starting to turn pink on me. So just some highlights. Don't want to overdo it and get real crazy. Okay, so now we're going to work on the candle that he's holding. So it looks like she has black, maybe with a hint of the blue again. Black with a hint of the blue, so it's not such a deep black. And Yvette, if this is, if you're like, no, this would be easier, just put it in the comments if you're watching this and you're like, oh my gosh, Heidi, this would be way easier. I'm just kind of going off of what I'm thinking it might be. And again, if you don't have a certain color for stuff, it's okay. You can alternate. If you're advertising the picture we're giving you, I do highly recommend you use the colors when you paint your sample, because you don't want to show up. One time I forgot this main color for a, what was it for? It was for a longhorn we were doing. And I forgot this main color, and it was not good, because that longhorn turned out, it was like it needed that certain color. And I realized it like in the class, like, oh my gosh, I cannot, it was burnt umber. I needed burnt umber for this longhorn. And the reason you don't see the longhorn in the files section or in the photos is because it wasn't a very cute one. It actually was more of a advanced, and so these were beginner, and what I realized was this painting was not meant for beginners. And so it just ended up like not turning out very cute, and I didn't love the way it was, happening, so I ended up just not offering it anymore. That's why you won't see it as an offering in here, because I, of course, want y'all to have success. I'm not trying to give you paintings that, just because I painted it at a party and made money, yeah, you use this. No, if it's not like a successful painting at a party, you're not going to see me give that to you, because I want you to be successful. So anyway, I was supposed to have burnt umber for this part of it, and I somehow forgot it. And oh my gosh, it was a big mistake, because the things would have turned out way cuter. Okay, so I'm using a mix of this blue with this black, and I'm just going to start kind of outlining this. And I'm using the liner brush to outline. This is where paint pens could come in handy if you wanted to buy some paint pens, Posca or Craft Smart from Michaels. We may have a link below. If you want to get it from our Amazon link, you can do that. Okay, so here's where some people use this. I like to go with the flat. So for some reason, and it depends on what you're more comfortable with, I work better with a 1-inch flat when I'm doing long lines. So let me show you. So I take my paint, I get it loaded on both sides, and I make sure it's really, really flat. And then I have better luck, let me see where this ends, if I just go across. And I make sure all bristles are touching. It's like I'm riding a bike. I'm watching where I'm going, not where I've been. And I fill it in that way. And then this is just kind of a hints of that dark blue with the black. I'm just going to fill this in here. And then we'll add a little bit of snow to it. Can you see that? Okay. Making sure. So the reason all of this blue, we kind of have the same color palette going along. That way it kind of looks like it's in harmony. And people won't really know why. You know, the ones that paint it will. But the people looking at it won't really know why it feels like it fits all together. But we'll know because we took time to make sure when we color stuff it has the same colors in it. This is just a really, it's kind of hanging on to his little stick hand. Okay? And then even this one's covered. Okay, and then we're just going to take a little bit of white. Just go on one side of it. And then a little bit under each one. Just a hint of white. And then make it look like a little bit of snow fell. Turning my brush over so I can make it a little thicker. And then we're going to do the same thing on this little twig. So I'm going to go back with a little bit of burnt umber. So the same bluish black, I'm going to keep it mixed. Just going to go over it just a hint. So it has a kind of stick-like look. After all, they did shove a stick, right? For the thing. And then I'm going to go back and add some snow on that. So you can turn it over if you want and use the back of your brush. And we're just kind of making it messy, or a little faster way, just go back to your 6th round. And again, depending on how long it's taking you to paint, your people to paint. As I do this, I'm thinking I might have everything, like I said, drawn out in Sharpie. And I might go ahead and do the first coat for them, that this stuff, Dura Clear. I might go ahead and have that done for them on the actual snowman, because seems like that could use quite a bit. And if people aren't really sure how to use that, that might run out way fast. Let's see, and then we're gonna put snow all along the branch. Anywhere snow would fall. Okay? And then we might have some snow here, a little bit of snow. I'm going to fill this in, and then a little bit of snow would be on this ledge. All right. Let me fill this little sucker in. With almost solid black. And some people get really nervous about like the mixing process. They get real like, I'm not really sure. So you could just say, hey, just do this black, you know, just to make it easier and faster too. All right, so we have that going on. I'm gonna do a little black shading here. Okay. All right, so now I want to, we got the shading on there. I could even, you know, if I wanted to do a hint of black in here, I could. Again, that might be too many steps for what we got going on. So I do want to take just a hint of the white, make it a grayish, and just put a little bit in this for his little jolly old face. Okay. The last thing we need to do, well, a couple more things. Take that back. Look at his. Okay, so we're going to paint the candle, and then we're going to add some snow. And I'm going to show y'all some tips with SnowTex. SnowTex, so fun. Okay, so we need to do the candle. Blue, what's wrong? Hey, Blue. Blue, what's wrong, buddy? I'm using this and this together. Okay, so sugared peach with the mix of the yellow is gonna tone down that yellow, but also give us that same color palette. And since my line was right here, I'm gonna stop my candle right there. So go all the way down, yeah. So it goes all the way down to the snow, so you might have to paint the snow back on. Okay, and then I can just take a little bit more yellow, the brighter yellow, to make the light. And then again, go back in with the muted. And I could even throw in a little bit of this burnt umber. And again, if the shading freaks you out or you feel like you're not gonna have enough time, have these pre-ready for them, okay? So there's the yellow, and then now we can add snowflakes and snow. Snow is so easy and so fun. You literally just take the back of your brush, and if you're nervous about people doing snowflakes, you could have stencils for snowflakes. I know that Essential Stencil has some. I'll grab mine and show you. And then you could do snow with just pure white. Just put in the middle of a messy plate and just start to add dots. And yes, the dots will go onto the snowman too, because it's going into it, right? You just kind of add and add and add. Let me see if I can find my stencil. Maybe I can cover up a little bit of that. Okay, I know there's some smaller stencil packs with Essential Stencil. If you look in our units, we have coupon codes that you can get these for. But I found this one real quick, so I'm just gonna show you how I could bring these stencils to the pate. To the party, and then have them dab. So then I could take maybe this brush or a makeup sponge and then just kind of set them. And we'll see how well this does. It might have gone back up under a little bit because my stencil wasn't all the way flat. You want to make sure your stencil is really good and flat. I don't even have this painting flat, so it's a little bit of a challenge for me where I'm at because I have the painting on a sideways thing, but it really needs to be flat and then an up and down motion. And then just pull up. So you could have them add a few snowflakes in here if you wanted to, however you want to do that, but then again, make sure you don't have the sign stuff on that side. Okay, so then the last thing, after you add some more dots, you can go in crazily and add, it could be in a blizzard. You know, some people get really excited over this part because it's really fun and easy. So you could go in and just start adding like crazy. And then if you want, of course, glitter, I recommend giving these two as options. So SnowTex and then glitter. So you'll do glitter first. Glitter takes about an hour to dry, and I recommend telling them to spray this with a polyurethane when they get home. So I don't provide that at my parties because it takes about an hour. It takes a couple hours for a polyurethane to dry. But I do recommend, let me show you which one I use. I don't know where I put it, but it's a spray polyurethane. It's mini wax. And then, of course, I don't want to use my tracers. Let me just put it on the end of this. So glitter glue, and then they need to use it with a clean brush, and their painting has to be dry. So let's say we're gonna put some on the hat, which is a fabulous idea. Maybe we're gonna put some on here. See how that yellow is still a little bit wet? It really needs to be dry before I start to add it. So after it dries, now I have the yellow. So yeah, bad idea. So you see the mistake happening right before your eyes and how I correct it. So I'll just kind of brush it up. So it has to be really dry first, and then you add all of your glitter details, and then the SnowTex is really fun. So this is where anywhere you put snow, you can either have them use their finger or you could have them brush it on. The women really love to use their finger, and they just kind of stick it on there. Now this again is going to take longer to dry, and they will be leaving the party usually with this and the glitter glue wet. But it adds a texture to it, and it adds just a layer of fun to the party. So it's totally worth splurging for these extras to have your party be different than the typical sip and paint or painting with a twist. So this could, I could do that for 20 minutes. It's so much fun. But I'm going to kind of show you what it looks like just kind of standing up. And then of course have them sign their names. Have them be careful with it, because it's held on pretty good, but depending on who made your palette, you want to be careful. And then it's 4 foot, so we're looking at all the way to my chest pretty much. So it's a ginormous sign, so do not advertise it for 30, 35 bucks and then get there and go, oh my gosh, this is taking a lot of my paint. Charge the right amount, charge $65, and then go from there. All right guys, hope you liked it.